My coach Chad Hartley and I often discuss cyclocross race tactics and plans, but not everyone has the opportunity to work with a successful coach. In this video, I want to help you be a better racer by reviewing our plan for the most important cyclocross event of the year, the Trek Cross Cup. In the previous Trek Cup videos, we discussed some basics about understanding a cyclocross course and how to use your strengths and weaknesses against your field, so be sure to watch those videos before watching this video. It kind of builds on itself. In this video, we're going to look at race tactics and how it applies within the USAC category progressions, and then we're also going to show how to observe and exploit other racer weaknesses during your race. And then from there, I'm going to show you some other examples of actual battles within my races at the Trek Cup. So before we start, it's important to know that not everyone is going to be able to execute race tactics if you're in a new category. So opinions kind of differ on this, but my understanding of what the category system philosophy is basically about is that, especially in the early races or early categories in Cat 4 and Novice, such as Cat 4 with me, it's really just to let the riders build their skills in that category until they start to execute some race tactics to some degree. This usually means better and better results, but sometimes you can just be fixing more fundamental skills with better results, but without really executing any tactics. So, for example, I had some pretty okay results early in the season, but I had to iron out some issues unrelated to tactics, such as, setting up corner speed better and not crashing. So I really started executing the actual race tactics until later in the season. Usually about Trek Cup here is where I kind of saw it the best. So this is really important for you to understand because you might be tempted to move up in the category ranks pretty much as fast as possible without, just maybe mediocre results. But you miss the opportunity to start executing some of these race tactics within your category, and you miss out on the experience of applying those tactics and skip the fundamental principle of the category system. So just be careful to caving into pressure with others, to move through the ranks really, really quickly unless you have some self-reflection about your own abilities and your experiences. I was super lucky to have a coach explain this to me before making that mistake. And, the same goes for you. If you start in a Cat 4 or novice field and you find that you're so much better in terms of fitness than the others, in those cases, you might want to cat up sooner so that you can start experiencing race tactics instead of just riding off the front of the race and never really battling anyone. So tactics are very different towards the front of the race than in the middle of the pack. Usually when you're in the middle of the pack, you're sort of just going as hard as you can, trying to catch up to the front of the race. Where if you're sort of closer to the front of the race and you are potentially going to have a podium, those are more like on and off type situations where you decide where you want to attack or sit in because you're already near the front, right? And so it's a very different race tactics based on whether you're near the front and potentially can podium versus maybe in the middle. Now, technically, you can do this when you're in any position in the field. So if you're around other guys around you and you find that that's where your position is throughout the race and those are the guys you're going to have to battle, those are the guys you're going to have to battle. But usually, you just want to be on the limit the whole time in those situations to catch the front of the race, unless you pretty much know that these are the guys you're going to be around with come the finish line. So if that fails and you settle into a rider or two around you to battle, you can apply these race tactics in the same manner, and that's what we'll review in this video. Another phrase my coach repeatedly says is that every race has a hardest part. Every race. So your job is really trying to preemptively identify where that's going to be and then prepare for it and execute to your best ability. And that really helps me mentally prepare for a race, or when I'm in a race and I'm really on my limit, I can tell myself, hey, this is the hardest part. You've prepared your best for it, and now you have to execute. And so this hardest part, it could be because someone else is exploiting your weaknesses, or it could be because you're exploiting their weaknesses and going on the attack. And that's usually the better tactic for success. So to do this, you really need to observe the weaknesses of other riders around you, either by sitting in behind your competition and taking mental notes, or just executing on those things at the right time, usually later in the race. So one approach to exploiting somebody else's errors is after you observe it, try to be ahead of them so that if they make those errors, you can attack during those sections. So that really puts them under a little bit of extra stress if they mess up. Another tactic would be to be just really hyper aware during those sections, and you can sit slightly further back behind somebody and then maybe attack if they make that error again. Another good example is like if you see someone taking poor corners. So if you sit behind someone and your competition just, you kind of have this feeling that your competition is taking these corners slower than maybe you want to take them. You don't necessarily have to get in front of them right away. You can kind of make that observation and just kind of sit in if you're still near the front, and then try to make an attack later before a tight technical section, and then put them on the limit through those corners. Another example is in those technical sections, you can just make a strategic pass before those technical sections and really put the pressure on them so that if they're behind you, they have to match your speed and maybe make an error or crash or just essentially get gapped off. Okay, with everything we just talked about, let's put it into some context with some examples. This is the first day, and we're going to talk about a battle that we had with Jordan and with Aaron. So in this first clip, you're going to see this downhill corner that I knew I was pretty strong with. Aaron here in the pink up there, he takes it a little bit dodgy, right? So I just kind of put that in the mental bank and then come back to it later. The other person here we're going to look at is Jordan. You can see he's going to attack me here, and that's another thing I put in the bank is I tend to get tacked on these hills, which we talked about previously, and Jordan was going to exploit that. But you can see here he's also starting to fade, so I should also kind of observe that maybe he's taking a hit. Now, Aaron, again, in the pink, you're going to see that he makes an error here, and I'm going to put that in the mental bank as well, saying, okay, well, he might be having an off day. And you can see more signs of fading here from Jordan on the left in the red. And, bobbing the head, that's one of those things where, like, I know when you get on the limit, there's not much you can do, but it's a real telling sign to me that, Jordan's having a rough day in terms of fitness. And that means, like, if I see that, maybe out of these barriers, I can go in and throw an attack down, see if I can put him on his limit and maybe pop him. But I should also anticipate that if he comes back to this point and he attacks me again, well, I got to know that he attacked me the first time there and that I should just know that I'm going to get attacked there. So here's another example of anticipating I'm going to get attacked on this hill as well. And you can see I kind of handle that pretty well in this example. So final one here, we're going to look at the using my strength situation where I do use to keep my speed there. We've talked about this previously in the other videos, but I do put in a little attack there by keeping my speed up pretty high and using that to my advantage, making a pass. And then also here, I got to know that Aaron up here is going to, attack me on this hill. And so we talked about that previously as well. And then we're going to also see an error again from Aaron here. So he was having a rough day. And basically what that means is when he gets out of it, I'm going to attack him right here. So I put down some power, get ahead of this guy, really kind of put him on his limits, and limited my weaknesses by kind of having the rest on the downhill, knowing that I was going to anticipate that he's going to attack me here, which I, again, cover fairly well. And then finally, the final nail in the coffin. He was having some rough times down this fast hill, and I used my advantage there, which we talked about previously, where I can kind of keep my speed and put in a little attack. And then that puts me at the front of the race, and I'm first in the last corner, which means I win the sprint. So that's how the first day went. Okay, on the second day here, we're going to talk about a battle between myself and Jason and Jared. And it really started off poorly because I had to play a lot of catch-up tactics, which on the second lap here, you can see I'm just kind of going all out to catch up to some guys. And by the time I do, now I'm seeing Jason here, and he's attacking into a pinch point, so I should put that in the bank, knowing that this guy is pretty smart. He wants to be ahead where he needs to be ahead. And then also here, Jared here is on the left in the white, and I noticed that I passed him here. And that's going to be important later. So limiting my weakness was important into this. You can see Jason's going to try to ride it, and I'm able to get around him, kind of block him, get ahead of him so that his maybe has an error there. But then I also maybe show my cards a little too early with Jason, where he was smart into pinch points, and I wanted to be first into this pinch point as well, when maybe I could have just sat in instead. But Jason was a bit aggressive here. You can see he's going to come up on my right-hand side, basically shove me while I'm dismounting. So he clearly wanted to get ahead, and then he got ahead of me. But then he started crashing. So, I mean, this guy definitely wanted to get ahead of me during this race, and you can see he does. But I'm going to try to sit into some wheels to get up to him And unfortunately, that just doesn't work out here in the beginning. And I do use some strategic rest. Some guys are going to pass me, including Jared here. And that basically means that I'm sitting okay, basically. I'm playing the cards I have. And again, you're going to see here, Jared here, a little slower to get up this hill. And it wasn't even that slow. I put in a pretty decent effort. Now here's a situation where I probably should have anticipated attack. I got sort of caught up behind Addison here. And then it kind of slowed down, and then of course Russell comes around, and I can't let that go. But eventually Russell gets away from me. So here we are again. I should be anticipating that everyone who sees me on this hill is going to attack me, and I should anticipate that I'm going to get ahead of him as well here, which I do. But the most important bit here is he's going to try to get around me. Jared is going to try to get me around here on the right, and I can't let that happen. I want to be first into the very technical downhill of Trek Factory Hill, and I put in a hard effort there. And basically what that means is that I was first out of Trek Factory Hill, and you're going to see here, because I'm first in the last corner, it's just too short of a sprint to come around. But I did slip up a little bit, and then Jared does come around me pretty strong, and I put in a real strong effort and basically beat him just by a bike throw. So pretty exciting finish. Gotta love when you have a sprint finish, and especially when you finish on a bike throw and beat him. So it was a fun battle on day 2. Okay, so on the third day, we're going to talk about some tactics between Blake and Floyd. Blake here is going to be on the green bike on the left. And you're going to notice here that after these set of barriers, Blake in the green bike, he's going to run up fairly high up. So he gets a little bit of speed, gets in front of traffic, but he does run up pretty high, slips up a little bit while I'm on my bike already, and I make a strategic pass there before Factory Hill. Here's another section. I know I'm going to get hit on these hills, and I anticipated a little bit. I'm also going to observe that, hey, he slips out of his pedal a little bit, a little slow to get up. But I should also know that Floyd up there is somebody we want to catch. So Blake here puts in a good effort. I knew I was going to get hit on the hill. I sit in a wheel. And then here's another observation of Floyd here. A little error. So I want to make sure maybe get ahead of him into some technical sections. And then final lap here. I'm going to hit him. I knew he was going to run up pretty hard. Look at how far up he runs, and I put a good little attack there. And then I really want to get in front of Floyd because of his error earlier, and Factory Hill wanted to be first into that, just like the day 2, right? Like day 2, if I was first into Factory Hill, I'm first into this corner and I win. So that's how day 3 played out, pretty quick and easy. So if you like this video, please click that like button. It does help out the channel quite a lot. We're going to have a couple more videos here from the rest of the cyclocross season to go over the same race tactics applied to those races. So please subscribe and you won't miss those. Thanks for watching.